As we are about to begin, just a few reminders. I would like to seek your cooperation in completing this seminar. Kindly follow our house rules. This seminar was enrolled to the Philippine Regulatory Commission and has been granted the corresponding CPD units. Attendance to this summit will be taken via the link provided. The price of success is hard work, dedication to the job at hand, and the determination that whether we win or lose, we have applied the best of ourselves to the task at hand. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to the Shared Governance Summit in Central Luzon. This year's theme is Leadership Through Governance Transformation. It is my delight to be your MC. My name is Fed. I hope that you will find this program to be fruitful and engaging. We would like to start this program through a prayer followed by the national anthem.
Let us place ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Almighty and loving Father, we praise and adore you. We offer everything to you as we are gathered together virtually to share and uphold the discipline of good governance. We pray that you bless all committees in charge, that they fulfill their tasks responsibly, that the objectives they have set may all be achieved. May you extend your divine wisdom and great inspiration to our speakers so that they would be able to impart effectively and ignite our perspective in building and sustaining a culture of governance in our organizations. We humbly ask that you send us your Holy Spirit to be our guide and give us the wisdom to understand and retain the invaluable knowledge and learning experiences that we derive from this shared governance summit for actual application in our respective institutions, divisions, and units. May we be living witnesses of your genuine love in reforming our region towards good governance despite the adversities we are facing today. We thank you, Father, for this precious time that you have given us. All this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, helas ang sinakanan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tulad ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagatak tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pangaw, ay hinatang tulakawin sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iinig, ang pituloy na karoon niya kailan ang may nag-iinig. Lumalang araw ng warhagin pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang inigaya ng karmay hangangin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
It is an honor to have her with us this afternoon, for her advocacy in the Department of Health lies in developing and strengthening policies and strategies to improve availability, accessibility, and affordability of quality healthcare services to the marginalized sector, specifically the PWDs and the indigenous people. To formally begin this seminar, I would like to call here in our virtual stage the Assistant Secretary of the Department of Health, Dr. Maria Francia M. Laksamana, to give us the welcoming remarks. I think Doctora is currently having a technical problem. Moving on, to understand what is Summit is all about, let me all invite you to watch this.
Warm afternoon to everyone. We all clamor for change, and one logical way to achieve an impactful transformation is to engage and understand governance. That is, true, authentic, and good governance. From these principles, the Shared Governance Summit, or SGS, was conceived. From the root word shared, meaning collaboration, cooperation, joint, united, and governance, meaning authority and ascendancy. This is a product of a shared governance partnership of the different governance partners of the province of Central Luzon, using the best evidence, expertise, and experience. It is an endeavor to the way we lead, using cooperation, collaboration, to transform each strong uniqueness into complementing ideas. It is our way of giving and partaking, where others may help and others may seek help, towards a harmonious region, Central Luzon. The objective of this SGS is to share the relevance of well-established governance, to foster collaboration from the private and public sectors, to embolden the others to adopt the discipline of governance, and to build a strong and impactful region, which is Central Luzon. The SGS is a yearly activity of lectures, discussion, and sharing, hosted by the different governance partners of Central Luzon. With all the complications and noise nowadays, let us change. Let's not compete, but rather share. For alone, we can be better, but together, we can be best. So join us as we start a spark. Enjoy, listen, and interact this Shared Governance Summit.
So now let us go to the meat of the program. But before we do that, let me introduce our guest speakers. We are fortunate to have four very prominent industry professionals speaking this afternoon. Let me start by introducing our first guest speaker. He is the Executive Director of the Institute for Solidarity in Asia, a public governance reform institute based in Manila. An educator by training, he shifted from forming middle school boys to molding public officials when he joined ISA to lead its advocacy of strengthening public institutions in the Philippines. Mr. Christian Saenz is the practice leader of ISA performance governance system that has been adopted widely by cities in enabling their local economy and by national government agency in improving delivery of their mandate. He is responsible for promoting a governance pathway where private citizens recognize and rate milestone reached by government entities as they institute reform. Our second speaker is the incumbent governor of the province of Bataan. Governor Abet, as he used to be called, has been exposed to the rigors of political life at a very young age. At the age of 28, he proved to everyone his political maturity and genuine public service by winning all of his political races, some of which were unopposed. He is the youngest mayor ever to be elected in the history of Balanga, Bataan, wherein he was able to work out the conversion of the once sleepy town into a component city of Bataan. Among his significant initiatives under his terms are the conversion of Bataan Export Processing Zone in the Freeport area of Bataan, the industrial town of Mariveles and Limay that made it to the top 10 among country's best municipalities. Bataan ranked second on the locally sourced income generation, which means that the province's annual regular income was locally sourced. Also, under his term, the province tops the National Competitiveness Council in Region 3. Truly, he is one of the pride of Bataan. Our third speaker is a journeyman like his recently published book entitled The Roads I Have Taken. He went from being a public servant, where he became the city administrator, to being elected as a city councilor of Angeles City, Pampanga for 3 consecutive terms. As an educator, he is a professor of the graduate studies in universities in Pampanga, which includes Holy Angel, Angeles University Foundation, Don Honorio Ventura State University, and University of the Philippines in Clark. As a corporate executive, he is the chairman of the Medal Consortium Leisure and Resort Development Corporation and the Clark Investors and Locators Association, and the president and CEO of BB International Corporation in Clarkfield, Pampanga. Sir Bong, as he is known to be called, is also a writer. Some of his published books include The Manual for Local Legislators, Fiona, A Journey with an Angel, Do You Think You Can Manage a Parish, A Walk Through Parish Management, and his latest creation, The Roads I Have Taken. Finally, for our last speaker, Dr. Glory V. Baltazar is regarded as a strong leader and a game changer in the landscape of health service delivery in her province. She has initiated an online referral system as the primary foundation in an effective and functional service delivery network. This initiative is considered as one of the early wins of Bataan General Hospital Medical Center as far as performance governance system is concerned. She is frequently invited by the Institute for Solidarity in Asia to share the hospital's experiences with regards to its implementation in the province of Bataan. She was also confirmed as a fellow of the Institute for Solidarity in Asia in June 2019 and will be joining a stellar listing of leaders from government, business, civil society, and the academe who have all shown tremendous progress in championing governance in their respective institutions and sectors. And there you have it. I told you earlier that our guest speaker for this afternoon are simply amazing. I know that everyone's excited and I will not keep you from waiting. But before that, let me call on again ASEC. Good afternoon, ASEC. Let us wait for a few seconds for ASEC Laksamana to welcome us to this afternoon summit. Hello, ASEC. Okay, while waiting kay ASEC Laksamana, we move on with our first program to talk about the principles of governance in transformation. Let me call on Mr. Christian P. Saenz.
Good afternoon to everyone. I see many familiar names and familiar organizations. There are more than 200, according to the Zoom platform, who are attending this. You could have been somewhere else, doing something else, or attending another webinar, but you chose to be here in this governance summit, the first in Central Luzon, being organized by JP. So maraming salamat. And I hope that this will be a worthwhile experience for all of us, no, this afternoon. Sabi ni Dr. Misael, this is the first part of this summit because it somehow talks about, you know, the principles, the principles that will be concretized in different sectors by the speakers who will come after me. I thought that dahil itong summit na ito ay nagaganap habang may pandemya at habang ang buong mundo ay obsessed, not just concerned but obsessed with the transition to the new normal, I thought that perhaps it's more instructive if we discuss the principles, the governance principles under the new normal. Okay? Sabi ko, obsessed yung buong mundo, no, about transitioning to the new normal. If there is an indicator of the level of obsession about the new normal, pag ginugol nyo yung new normal, meron as of today 2.2 billion. Can you imagine that? 2.2 billion entries on what the new normal will look like. I think that number is increasing every day. So yung buong mundo nag-iisip, nagpaplano, nag-uusap kung paano tayo makaka-transition post-pandemic. Regardless of where we belong, whether we are in the private sector, in the public sector, parang the time calls for a transition. So in all of this discussion about the new normal, meron, I think, agreement or consensus about what it entails. And yung consensus na yon, at least dun sa mga literature na na-expose na ako, sinasabi nila na yung transitioning daw to the new normal will entail a balancing act between returning to the old and reimagining the new. Okay? Yan yung verbs na malimit ginagamit in many literature when they talk about the new normal. Magbabalik tayo dun sa mga old practices pre-pandemic na relevant pa rin and still are working. Babalikan natin yon. Pero meron din tayong mga bagong pamamaraan na dapat gawin dahil lahat tayo, ang buong mundo, ay apektado ng pandemya. Sabi nga nila, no institution will come out of this pandemic unchanged. And not just institutions, no individual will come out of this pandemic unchanged. So, transitioning to the new normal consists of doing the two things. Picking up what has worked before and then building on that to leapfrog into the future. The so-called new normal. Gusto ko yung verbs na yon, return and reimagine. Di ba? I mentioned earlier 2.3, I think, or 2.4 billion entries, no? On the new normal. Ito pa yung ma-discover nyo pag ginawa nyo to sa Google. Yung new normal, even before you key in anything, Google will suggest already new normal for businesses, new normal for hospitals, new normal for what is this? Cities. Okay, so meron ng mga parang suggestions, recommendations, even prescriptions on what we should take into account regardless of where we are as we usher in the new normal. Okay, let me show you something. Ito raw this came out, I think, late last year. Ito raw yung new normal ng mga cities all over the world. Dapat daw, sabi ng gumawa nitong paper na ito yung mga elemento raw na dapat laman at dapat maikonsidera when a city maps out its future. Okay? So if you look at this list, meron ditong mga bagay-bagay na even before the pandemic ginagawa na ng mga cities, di ba? At meron ding mga bagay-bagay dito under the new normal, kinakailangang paigtingin, kinakailangang i-reimagine. Okay. So ito yung parang menu or prescription on how cities can transition to the new normal. In our work in ISA, at least this past year since the lockdown, we've been involved, fortunately, in 2 cities that have actually translated these ideas into a workable plan, into a flesh and blood plan or flesh and blood reality. Isa dun sa mga cities na yon ay the city of Mandaue under Mayor Cortez, na late last year he got together his people in City Hall as well as stakeholders to reimagine Mandaue as a smart, resilient city. Smart, resilient city. So nagkasundo sila, ganyan ang new normal para sa atin. Okay? Yung isang city naman na nagsimula yung kanilang pagpaplano, kanilang pag-uusap on what the new normal will look like for them is the city of Baguio under Mayor Magalong. So, nabuo na nila at ngayon ini-implement na ng City of Baguio, department heads and private sector partners, yung kanilang plano to be a smart, sustainable city. Yung Baguio at Mandaue, pag tinignan mo yung kanilang mga roadmaps towards the new normal, 2 outstanding features in the plan parang stand out for at least from our point of view. One is the inclusion of programs to help restart or to help private enterprises thrive under the new normal. Okay. So yung plano to be a smart, sustainable, and or a smart, resilient city, hindi lamang siya puro provision of more services to the citizens. An essential component of their plan is to look for or to enable the local economy so that it can thrive under the new normal. So in the case of Baguio, meron silang plano for the tourism sector, the new tourism. Meron silang plano for the education sector, because those are local drivers or the major drivers of the local economy. In the case of Mandaue, meron silang plano for the SMEs that are tied to the manufacturing sector of Mandaue, how to retool them so that they can be part of the digital economy. So yun, so that's what one outstanding feature, yung the LGU playing or making as part of the new normal plan, their role as an enabler or as enablers of the local economy. The second outstanding feature in the plans of both Mandaue and Baguio, na very exciting din, is the so-called digital transformation. So both cities in their plans talk about smart government, smart health, smart businesses, smart transportation. So the role of the role of technology and digital solutions to help the entire city transition to the new normal. So yun, Uh, Yun ang gusto kong gawing halimbawa. They're freshest in my mind right now, yung dalawang cities na yon, kasi ginawa sila during the pandemic. And what that tells us is, kung magta-transition tayo to the new normal, city, hospital, private enterprise, school, or whatever entity we are part of, must do or must have yung pagkakaroon ng isang malinaw na plano, malinaw na strategiya, saan tayo patutungo at paano tayo makakarating doon. So under the new normal, more than ever, ito we will echo what Peter Drucker said way back in 1964 in the very first book on strategy. Sabi ni Drucker, strategy is what distinguishes a great institution from a merely competent one. So, first point about this this part of the program, relevant ba ang governance in the transition to the new normal? More than ever it is. Because it is governance, it is the direction setting, it is the steering role that leaders do, and the participation of the governed that will enable that transition. So absent a clear strategy on what the new normal looks like and how to get there, mag-uuwido tayo. Mag-uuwido tayo. And most likely, kung uwido yung approach, hindi malayo ang mararating ng institution. Okay, so that's my first point. So if governance is about steering an organization into the future, then one of the must-haves, one of the must-dos is to have a clearly articulated strategy and a clear implementation framework for making that strategy happen. Okay, let me go to the second point. Sabi ni Dr. Misael, 15 minutes lang daw to, so that you don't fall asleep. This past, 18 months now, or 15 months since the lockdown last year, ISA, the organization that I'm part of, we have been involved in many strategy conversations, looking at how the pandemic has impacted the strategy. I'm looking at JB Lingad, for example, who is our host today. The Hospital of Docria, of BGH, and many of you who have who were forced somehow to revisit your strategy because may pandemic, or who were forced to recalibrate their strategy kasi in the case of many of the hospitals who are here today, kinakailangang magresponde tayo sa pandemia. Okay. In all of these conversations, particularly on the topic on how the hospitals have responded or are responding to the pandemic, the surge of cases, the first wave last year, and then now the second wave, there is one parang lesson that we have picked up. And I am sure that the hospitals who are here will agree to this. In terms of the pandemic response, I think that the very important lesson that we have all learned is that those organizations who moved earlier, faster, and more decisively do best. Si Gov Abet, nakasama ko siya sa isang forum of hospital administrators last year during the lockdown, and then may mga kwento siyang that will substantiate this lesson. Si Doc Ria can substantiate this lesson as well. Which brings me to a second principle or element of governance na traditionally hindi ito nabibigyang pansin. Okay? So hindi siya parang when you talk of governance, this principle is not like the top of mind principle. But I'd like to make a case, having seen the experience of many of the institutions that we have been working with in government this past 18 months or 15 months, I think under the new normal, there is a principle that will be prominent and will be more relevant. And that is the discipline or the principle of agility. Of agility. The ability to shift gears. The ability to tweak, recalibrate, even overhaul the things that we're currently doing because there is something happening outside that perhaps we did not anticipate or perhaps we need to respond to. Diba? So agility is not typically connected to governance. Pero sa tingin ko, under the new normal, ito yung lesson na natutunan natin ngayong pandemya na pwede nating dalhin as we transition to the new normal. Okay? Ang very parang prominent example na tumatak sa isip ko niyan is the strategy refresh that Paulino Garcia had. Paulino Garcia. Hindi ko alam kung andito si Doc Rene. In fact, si Doc Rene, kay Dr. Rene Francisco, who is the OSM of Paulino Garcia, sa kanya ko unang narinig yung word na agility in terms of the pandemic response and in terms of implementing their respective, their own roadmap. Sabi niya, may mga departments daw dun sa Paulino Garcia na dahil sa pandemya, on their own, naghanap ng bagong diskarte para magawa pa rin yung kanilang gustong gawin. So a good example of that is may mga training commitment sila. So because of the pandemic, or dumiskarte on how to do the training or how to look for the training under a different platform. So sabi niya yung mga departments daw dun sa Paulino Garcia who were agile, if you want madiskarte, sabi niya yun daw yung mga top performing departments na ni-recognize nila last year. So yun, meron kang strategiya, sure, which you made under certain assumptions, pero pag nagbago ang assumption, pag nagbago ang mga kondisyon, dapat meron tayong disiplina and disposition to recalibrate or tweak or even reboot or even overhaul. Okay, so agility is going to be a discipline and a principle that's going to be relevant under the new normal. Pero let me push this some more, ha? Let me push this some more. Kasi from our experience as well, yung mga organizations who have shown agility during this pandemic, okay, merong mga elemento or merong mga enablers that enable them, so repetitive yun, no? Enablers that allowed them to be agile. Ano yung enablers na yon? Ano yung enablers na yon? So ito yung mga nakita namin, ha, from the many institutions who have been implementing their transformation plans. Unang-una, okay, yung agility nangyari dahil yung mga units that comprise the organization were empowered to make their own decisions. The lower units are empowered to chart their own course and pursue that course. Now, I'm not saying that the empowerment means that they are free to do anything they want, and they're free to chart their own course. Hindi. Agility happens when the empowerment is anchored on an overall strategy or overall direction na napagkasunduan ng buong organisasyon. So, merong ambag ang bawat unit sa baba na aligned, consistent with what we want to happen in the organization, di ba? Now, here's another element that in what we have seen this past 15 months is an enabler of agility, and that is the fading away of the old paradigm of overly centralized decision making and rigid command and control. Under the new normal, sa tingin ko, magbabago yun. So, yung mga agile organizations that we have seen, not only they have empowered the units below because they recognize that the expertise is down there. And therefore, the ones who are closer to the realities on the ground, who have the expertise to respond to the issue or the problem, then we defer to their expertise. Yan, nakita namin yan sa maraming ospital na wala na yung mga turf war kasi they are all forced to work together. And then may mga experts on infectious disease na sila yung nagli-lead kasi sila yung may expertise. Okay? So look at that. That's an enabler of agility. Now, if you look at this closely, lower units are empowered, lower units' expertise is recognized. All of that is consistent, or in fact, are manifestations of a governance principle, okay, that many of you have heard, and I'm sure have learned, which is subsidiarity. Under the new normal, this is what subsidiarity will look like. Okay, subsidiarity is the discipline that recognizes or that empowers the lower units to do their own thing, to respond to issues and problems, because those who are closer to the ground, those who have the expertise to respond to the problems below, are the ones in the best position to do so. Ayan. So, meron na tayong tatlo. Transitioning to the new normal will require strategy. Implementing that strategy under the new normal will require agility. But for agility to happen, the third principle is subsidiarity. Okay, let me go to the last one. Kasi more than 15 minutes, diba? Okay, last one na to. Marami sa atin, up to now, including us, have been working from home. Diba? Have been working from home. Meron ako nabasa recently, under the new normal daw, hindi na working from home. It's going to be hindi na WFH, WFNH. Hindi ko alam kung nabasa niyo na yon. Working from near home. So you'd have to commute very far to go to the office, but the office parang provides you resources so that you can work unhindered, uninterrupted, undisturbed in some place nearby, near your home. Okay, so anyway, so dahil nga many of the things get done without the physical interaction that we used to all enjoy before the quarantine, then one of the elements that also allow for agility is the last principle that I'd like to share with you. This is transparency and accountability. What does that look like under the new normal? Agile teams are accountable for precisely stated outcomes. So under the new normal, it does not make sense, and I think it is inhuman to ask people to account for every second of the working hour. Di ba? Perhaps others will disagree with me, pero I find that inhuman. Na at the end of the day, mag-report ka, anong ginawa mo first hour, second hour, third hour, fourth hour. Okay, I don't think people will like that. Yung parang napaka, what is this? Super rigid controls. Okay, mga control freaks, no? So more and more under the new normal, if we want to adhere to good governance principles, accountability here means accounting or making very clear to the units concerned what their deliverables are and or what their success outcomes should be. Diba? So yung deliverables and success outcomes are at the end of the day, okay, sure, gawin mo, walang nakakakita sa iyo. We respect and what is this? We respect and trust in the integrity of the people working for us and working under us. Pero magkalinawan tayo, ito yung end of the day or end of the whatever, end of the quarter or end of the semester deliverables and outcomes. Okay? So yan, accountability. Pero bakit transparency? Kasi yung outcomes na yon na hinihingi mo sa mga tao mo, okay, para magampanan yung kanilang dapat gampanan, well, has to be made known to everybody. Yan. Okay? So, yan sa tingin ko, based on what we have learned from you, from many of you who are here today, ang itsura ng governance under the new normal. Strategy, more than ever, is required. Diba? Kung yun, essential yun, non-negotiable yun, you need to have one. Okay? Pero in implementing that, agility is the name of the game. Pero for agility to happen, subsidiarity is a discipline that must be imbibed by everybody, as well as transparency and accountability, but defined or understood and appreciated under the new normal terms. Okay, so yan. Tapos na ako. These days, talking to many of you, that's how we spend our day. In fact, that's how I spend my day every day, talking to someone or talking to some organization. Kaya itong summit na to is a break for me because I am not talking. I am not in a session. Pero first, I'd like to thank, many of you who are partners of ISA for the lessons learned. The lessons that we have all learned from you. And I think that many of you have shown and continue to show, Lingad is one of them, that when there is a governance culture in any organization, okay, and when governance is understood as a shared responsibility of the governors and the governed. Okay? So governance, ito, cliche na to. For many of you, you've heard this from ISA many times. Governance is not just the concern of the leaders. Diba? They play an important role, definitely. But the whole idea is that governance is governors and governed together. One is steering, the other one is rowing. Diba? And another important role of the governed, accountability. Diba? Engaging their leaders and making them accountable for their promises, okay, and their commitments. So anyway, I'd like to end by saying that after more than ever these past months under the pandemic, while we're under lockdown, ito yung parang mensahe na every time we engage with you is a message that we always get. And what is that message? That when governance is a shared responsibility, with governance as a shared responsibility between the governors and the governed, the uncertain future can, with effort, be a better one. So the new normal for us will be a better one if we take to heart governance and its principles. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Mr. Saenz. It was a very precise and relevant presentation, especially that we are adapting to the new normal. I am sure all of our viewers right now were moved. I like the subsidiarity, the agility, those principles. Your thoughts are going to stay with all of us, I'm sure. Thank you for sharing, sir. Before we move to our next speaker, I would like to call on the Assistant Secretary of the Department of Health, Dr. Maria Francia M. Laksamana. Doctora.
Good afternoon to everyone. Sorry, I was a bit late because it was very hard for me to get into the link. And all our Wi-Fi are being used for 4 simultaneous VTC meetings. But anyhow, I would like to greet each and every one of you a very pleasant good afternoon. Of course, I'm very happy that Dr. Chris Science is there. Dr. Chris, I'm very glad you're here again with us. He is our Executive Director for the Institute for Solidarity in Asia. I'm also very much honored to see here our very able and very effective and efficient Governor, Governor Abet Garcia. Magandang hapon po sa inyo. And of course, we have here also our President and CEO of the DB, International Leisure and Resort Development Corporation, headed by Mr. Irineo Alvaro. We have also here our colleague, another colleague, Dr. Ria Baltasar, our Chief Medical Center Chief of Bataan General Hospital. And of course, I'm also very honored to be part of the Jose B. Lingad Memorial Medical Center in their PGS journey. I would like to congratulate Dr. Montserrat Chichoco for this very good event that they are handling right now. And really, this is very much a very good activity for all of us because this will be our first shared governance summit in Central Luzon. Ngayon lang ako nakarinig ng mayroong governance summit ang province. So I was very much honored when Dr. Chi told me that they will be convening this first shared governance summit in Central Luzon. And of course, for the management of the leadership of Dr. Chichoco, I am very much honored also to welcome not only our VIPs and our very distinguished guests, but I'm also welcoming our participants who are here. I have seen a lot of participants in the chat group, in the participants group. Napakadami po natin ngayon, 291 participants all in all. And this is a very good venue for us to really hear our experts here. So under the leadership of Dr. Chichoco, we would like to welcome these participants, and also we would like to congratulate all of them who have shared in this endeavor. But it is very timely that we are talking about COVID. I heard already the message and notes of our expert, Dr. Chris Science here. And of course, this is very inspiring. And also, I would like to recognize also the important role that each of the sectors of the society plays a role in this governance system and in providing quality healthcare services for our constituents. And we would like also to get everyone be on board so that moving forward, this is now the new normal. Actually, when Dr. Chris, when Dr. Chi presented this during the PGS, I was very much impressed by the strategic commitments. And really, as I have heard you a while ago, Dr. Chris, when you said that let us revisit, recalibrate, I think JBL has already recalibrated their strategic commitments and moving forward, what will be the new normal in terms of a tertiary level hospital like JBL. So theoretically, the shared governance is really an organizational model that provides a structure for a shared decision making among professionals about practice and outcomes. So given our present situation, which is now our new normal, there is really no better way to work but with all our hands together through cooperation, collaboration, commitment, and of course, our transformation of our organizations into strengths, uniqueness, and to overcome all the weaknesses. I think in this time of the pandemic, all our weaknesses were there, but we put in and move forward through our strengths and our opportunities. So in order to complement each and every one of us, we need other sectors, we need the private sectors, we need all the other stakeholders around us, not only during the normal times, but now here in our new normal times. So to quote its simplest form, that the shared governance is shared decision making based on principles of partnership, equity, accountability, and ownership of the point of service. In our world today, this management process model empowers all members of the healthcare workforce to have a voice in decision making, thus encouraging our healthcare to be more creative, provide initiatives, and put our inputs together to help advance the business as well as the healthcare missions in the organization. In essence, it makes every employee feel like he or she is part of the organization, not only as an employee, but as part of the manager of the organization. With the personal stake that the success of the organization will depend not only on the leaders, but it will depend also on the followers. So as we all agree, those are happy with their jobs right now. I've also read in the evaluation of the JBL during the PGS evaluation that it reflected very well the very good camaraderie among the employees and the health workers of JBL. So they took their own one step ahead when they did a very good consensus of what they think about their organization, which provided really better, good outcomes. And now they're reaping the fruits of all these hardships that they have done. Therefore, employees, patients, and organizations and the surrounding communities benefit from this shared governance. I know it is very hard really to put 100% very good governance system in our society right now, but we always try our best to be perfect. But I know the JBL always try their best to be perfect and soon to be more perfect than what they think they are now. And so with this in mind, we hope to learn much from each other as we have our shared experiences with our ideas and opinions that each of us can benefit from one another. We are also happy to be in the company of known and respected leaders who are here with us today and who are willing to give their inputs, their shared experiences, and their wisdom in order to improve our current situation right now with the knowledge and expertise that they are also willing to share, especially with our experts who are here right now. I know Governor Abbott also has a lot of sharing to do with us today because I've always heard him share a lot of things to me, even when we do many activities during our Bataan or our LGU activities. But the governance is always there. And to all our audience here, we hope that you will be able to gather the nuggets of wisdom from our guests, whatever they will share with us today. But more importantly, we hope that we will be able to find ways on how and when to practice these lessons learned, which we are about to learn today. And all these lessons learned, of course, can be cascaded. So my only wish that everything that we have heard today from our experts will be cascaded also to all our colleagues, not only in Central Luzon, but maybe we can cascade all this wisdom and knowledge to all the other Luzon areas, even to the Visayas and Mindanao colleagues of the DOH hospital. So I would like to thank this opportunity to share with you and to be with you today. and I will be here online to hear also the experts. I will also be learning from all of you. I will also be learning my new knowledge that I will also hear from our experts today. So thank you very, very much and good afternoon to all. Maraming salamat po for sharing all your wisdom.
Wonderful remarks, Doctora. Moving on, I would like to welcome our next guest speaker to talk about local government leading by discipline and culture of governance. We are extremely honored to welcome here this afternoon Honorable Albert S. Garcia.
It is my honor and privilege to be with you today as we hold the first ever Shared Governance Summit in Central Luzon. I commend the effort of the organizers to come up with this endeavor to spark change and ignite a culture of a well-established governance system that will benefit the region. This is timely because we public servants are at a crossroads in history. Good governance finds itself at a crucible in view of our collective battle against the pandemic. As I speak to you today about the subject of local government leading by discipline and culture of governance, we cannot take for granted the truth that we still have a long way to go. The rising cases of COVID-19 shows that this learning curve on good governance will continue for as long as we are able to discover inventions and innovations to address our necessities. I do believe that this summit will be instrumental to a movement of unified measures and management systems towards the goal of seeing this crisis through. Please allow me to walk you through the most essential measures we undertook in our fight against the pandemic, most of which became our pillars in the province's consolidated response to the challenges of health long before they became relevant to our fight against COVID-19.
At the core of Bataan's vision of having the lowest poverty incidence resulting from quality growth and attaining top-level Human Development Index is the mission to provide excellent public service by implementing a performance governance system as a transformation tool that will guide employees and officials in the efficient delivery of public service. In 2013, the provincial government of Bataan enrolled to the Performance Governance System (PGS) program of the Institute for Solidarity in Asia for this purpose. As a result, a strategy map that would spur activities and initiatives to achieve the province's mission and vision came about through perspectives that are broken down in special bodies to help and support the different departments in the implementation of their respective programs. These gave birth to Bataan's award-winning digital innovation tool called Automated Performance Management System, APMS, which provides automation in reporting and online monitoring of commitments, the performance rating and ranking of qualified departments and individuals. Bataan went on to receive the seal of good local governance in the last 4 consecutive years and was awarded Most Business-Friendly Province in 2018. Little did they know that their acquired discipline in good governance through the years was to be the necessary training they would need in preparation for the crisis. Take, for example, the establishment of the Service Delivery Network. It is an online referral system that aims to provide immediate and efficient medical attention to patients. Through this symbolic framework, district hospitals, rural health units, and even barangay health centers can refer patients to secondary hospitals and tertiary hospitals as well. Bataan also takes pride in being one of the pilot sites in the country for the implementation of the Universal Healthcare Law, aimed to ensure a guaranteed equitable access to quality and affordable healthcare. In addition, there are malasakit centers, where indigent patients can efficiently access financial and medical assistance from national government agencies under one roof. Complementing this, the One Bataan Malasakit Dialysis Assistance was launched in the midst of the pandemic, catering to patients in need of dialysis medicines operating under a centralized system. These facilities are strategically located around the province to conveniently provide assistance to patients who are regularly receiving dialysis treatment. Bataan's COVID-19 response is encapsulated into the prevent, detect, isolate, test, treat strategy. For the prevention phase, COVID-19 messaging to engage the community was immediately intensified through improved risk communications anchored on government policies and local task force resolutions, starting with and stressing the importance of adhering to minimum public health standards. Focused risk communication efforts didn't just target online audience, but also put premium on on-ground collaterals to dramatize the urgency of the messages within the community. There was strict implementation of technology-driven border control measures through the use of IP radios, CCTV cameras, and QR code system. On the matter of isolation and quarantine, 32 temporary treatment and monitoring facilities were established last year. 16 of them are still in operation today to accommodate increasing cases of COVID-19 in the province. The surge also gave birth to the One Bataan Mega Quarantine and Processing Facility. The immediate establishment of One Bataan BGHMC RT-PCR laboratory remains to be one of Bataan's most considerable achievements in the area of expanded testing, and the recently inaugurated RT-PCR laboratory located at the Mariveles District Hospital. During the early days of COVID, they struck a much-needed partnership with the Philippine Red Cross and the JBL MGH, which ramped up their testing capabilities. On the treatment category, the immediate activation of the PHO and Department of Health hotline for referral cases with the help of the Metro Bataan Development Authority at the COVID-19 Command Center happened. It is where they also monitor real-time dashboard system of active COVID cases, including the hospital bed tracker application. There is a continuous non-COVID health service delivery in the province with the establishment of the BGHMC Annex, strengthening of district hospitals, and signing of a memorandum of agreement with private hospitals in Bataan. Incentive-based programs were also implemented to intensify community engagement in the form of the One Bataan Seal of COVID-19 Free Barangay and the One Bataan Patroller. The One Bataan Seal of COVID-Free Barangay provides the much-needed boost in the morale of hardworking frontliners. The barangays who register either zero COVID-19 cases or have successfully reduced their cases by 20% in consecutive weeks are recognized and given cash incentives. The One Bataan Patroller, on the other hand, empowers the people to report and submit photos or videos of violations of health protocols and other quarantine guidelines in the community to help mitigate the spread of coronavirus and encourage a proactive stance among the people. Because the vaccine is seen as a catalyst in the overall solution of the pandemic problem, the provincial government has ramped up its consolidated vaccination program and continues to maximize its resources to make sure that every eligible Bataeño would be inoculated with the hope of achieving herd immunity in the province. Bataan has been doing its share in the procurement of vaccines outside of the initiative of the national government. The vaccine rollout in Bataan through the management and leading of the Provincial Health Office, PHO, is proceeding as planned, as every dose delivered is received by an eligible member of a specific priority group at any given time. This is the latest count of those who have been vaccinated, including total deliveries of Sinovac and AstraZeneca vaccines to the province. Bataan's cold chain facility, located at the Bataan People Center, which also serves as the province's centralized vaccination site, is up and running and able to receive and store any brand of vaccine, including those that require meticulous handling and storage. On top of that, the provincial government has also mandated the establishment of 15 other satellite vaccination sites, most of which are now in operation for the ease and comfort of the people and can be found in the different municipalities and city in Bataan. Even in the midst of the pandemic, the pursuit of economic activities to help augment losses suffered by businesses and livelihood of the people is still a priority in the province. The Provincial Public Employment and Services Office came up with a project called Peso Call Center, which uses an online platform that provides job matching for appropriate skills. Globe Telecom came in to ensure a stable, reliable, and strong internet connection with their $22 million investment in Bataan. A joint venture partnership with Israeli proponent AgriLever Limited, called the One Bataan Agri-Inno Tech Center, has made modern agricultural practices for precision farming available to local farmers. The provincial government launched undertakings that were aimed at diversifying and strengthening businesses in terms of design, innovation, community empowerment, and sustainability through the One Bataan Smart Business Directory, a lifestyle mobile application, and the One Bataan Handicraft Industry Ecosystem. Bataan's strategic location brings socio-economic upliftment to its citizenry, as it proves to be an ideal venue for special economic zones in the country, the biggest of which is the Freeport area of Bataan. The strengthening of the powers of the AFAB through the enactment of RA 11453 proved to be another milestone. It promotes AFAB's continuing growth by opening its doors to every municipality and city in Bataan as a venue for expansion. To date, a total of 558 hectares of land intended for various types of development for the 7 FAB expansion areas. The vision of providing jobs and opportunities for the people remains a primary goal to uplift the lives of every Bataeño. Here are some of Bataan's major infrastructure developments to watch out for. The 74-hectare Mount Samat Shrine of Valor site will be undergoing infrastructure developments to preserve its historical value and make it a world-class hub for history and culture. The Colonnade in Balanga City, where the Bataan Convention Center will soon rise. The Bataan Baseco International Seaport Terminal Complex and Township in Mariveles. And the much-awaited 32-kilometer-long Bataan-Cavite Bridge, which will connect Regions 3 and 4 and potentially create economic boom. The timetable in the attainment of Bataan's vision may have suffered a setback at the outset, but in hindsight, the pandemic also brought forth courage and resiliency in the heart of every Bataeño.
Good local governance can only thrive and flourish where there is a clear vision for the future and unified body of structures and processes, worthwhile collaborations between the national, regional, provincial, and all local government units. This is intensified by the engagement of the barangay, down to the families and the public through risk communication that ensures measurement of performance, accountability, responsiveness, and inclusivity. I believe that the intentional cultivation of the culture of excellence and meritocracy within the Bataan provincial government will eventually lead us all to an amazing transformation of public service. We are beginning to see our people take pride in their government and believe in what they can contribute to its success. Despite the challenges of the pandemic, we remain steadfast in our shared aspiration, united towards one goal, one vision for one Bataan.
Thank you, Governor Garcia. It was a very good presentation. I am sure all of us in this seminar can relate to what you have mentioned. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing. We are now halfway into our seminar, and I would like to remind all once again that for the interest of time, all questions to our speakers will be made through our chat box. Our next speaker will be sharing his thoughts on how governance work in private sector. We are privileged to have him with us this afternoon. Let us all hear his experience and views on the subject. Let us all welcome Dr. Ireneo Bong Alvaro.
A blessed day to all of you. Honestly, being part of the Jose B. Lingad Memorial General Hospital is a humbling thing, and I am immensely honored to become part of this forum today. The truth is, working with these high caliber doctors, prominent personalities, and esteemed officials gave me an intense street basketball player flashback. Me being short, pero sabi nga, maliksi at nakakalusot sa maski maliliit na mga espasyo na kayang ipasa ang bola sa mga sharpshooters and project my best agility. And can still at the same time hear the quotes that we as a team, as team players, can still do better. And this is one of the lessons in private sector. We can be at our best, and our best can still be better. Stay motivated, keep the momentum, do your part, top others, cooperate, and be a team player. And this is what is exhibited by the Jose B. Lingad Memorial General Hospital Multi-Sectoral Governance Council. It is not more on our score points, but it is the way we govern, transform, and lead to work and serve together. We are here today to talk about leadership through governance transformation with the subtopic, how governance works in the private sector as part of the professional development program of Jose B. Lingad Memorial Hospital. At this juncture, let me share my screen to you. These words in front of us are undeniably beautiful 3 words. To simply define governance shall mean the way group of people do things. I am now here to tell you how our group and the JBL, MGH, MSGC play in the street basketball. How do we do it? Vis-a-vis on how do we do it in the private sector. If we just talk about governance, leadership, and transformation, we have to talk about how we are facing the greatest challenge of all time, COVID-19, which have been the grinding crucible in which all the work we know about governance, leadership, and transformation, and many other concepts had been put to test, a real acid test to face the challenge of the pandemic, and that the government perspective is no different nor alien from the private perspective. What we need today is a unified perspective, oneness in goal and strategies, complementation of efforts, and a focused direction. That is if we are to conquer the deadly enemy called coronavirus. This is the time that organizations or government, instead of just physically isolating themselves and building protective walls around them, should openly share what they have in terms of systems, knowledge, resources, and cures in combating the disease. And first thing first, the issue today should be survival. As to the private sector where I belong, in this case, the private sector should set aside its prime motivation for revenues and profit if it wants to survive and preserve its markets and the sources of its revenues and profits. To profit this day is not to engage in profiteering, nor to take advantage of the crisis, and neither making money out of the misery of our people, because the call should be in helping each other to survive. The virus has crushed the global economy to the levels never experienced in recent history. In the Philippines, our economy shrunk to less than negative 10% from the 7% a year before because of the pandemic, which means there will be no market to speak of unless we address the pandemic. Let us rewind a little bit. When we were forming the Multi-Sectoral Governance Council, we did not have any or the slightest idea, nor have not entered in our wildest imagination that there will be such thing as coronavirus. Then a few months later, we were confronting, and until now, the virus that shocked the entire humanity. Allow me at this point to share some of the significant measures that JBL-MGH took in forming the MSGC to ascertain an effective and efficient governance system even before the virus took over. We started with number one, the selection process. Identification and deliberation for the personalities that shall form the MSGC was careful and circumspect in order to ascertain the group's quality and in order to effectively contribute to the goals of the MSGC. Popularity was actually the least of all the qualifications, but rather integrity, wide network, and the passion to help were some of the major considerations. That is why, without any fear of contradiction, the JBL-MGH MSGC's composition is an ideal, if not a perfect mix of qualified and big-hearted human beings. Second, the first task was to set a clear direction. Patrick Lencioni said, if you could gel all the people in the organization in the same direction, you could dominate any industry in any market against any competition anytime. That's correct. This means when members of the organization understand and see the same purpose and direction, the way to go upward and forward becomes an easy path, even in the midst of adversities. The first job of the team was the formulation of a common vision, mission, goals, and perspective. This provided the clear directions and prescriptions. It provided doable steps, attainable timeframes, and well-defined roles and responsibilities. Perhaps, without a single iota of doubt, I can bravely say that this did not only allow us to act in unison, but made us triumph even even in its, or rather in its period of adversities and the unexpected challenges. To some extent, the cooperation between the team of government and the private sector has somehow demonstrated the possible impact of such relationship in mitigating the pandemic. It did help a lot that even before the outbreak of the virus, a mechanism for consultation and cooperation was already in place at the JBL MGA MSGC. Thanks, of course, to the dynamic leadership of the hospital director, Dr. Montserrat Shoshoko. Through the council, it was easier to organize assistance from the private sector to the hospital and the government to effectively serve its constituency when the pandemic struck. There was a time that PPEs, including face and surgical masks, were in severe short supply. This happened nationwide. Mechanical ventilators became the most sought after life-saving medical equipment, but globally, the supply was running out. Incidentally, before the pandemic struck, in the late 2019, our foundation, the BBIF, or Bridges of Benevolent Initiative Foundations of the Midori Group of Companies, had already programmed for the purchase of medical equipment, including 6 ventilators that were intended to be donated to local hospitals, including JBL. We placed our orders for the machines in China just before the Chinese government barred the export of such machines. And the machines arrived just as the hospitals needed them most. Because also I am the country ambassador of the World Medical Relief, a global philanthropic organization and relief organization headed by Ekabalen, George Samson. Just 2 weeks ago, we also turned over more around medical supplies to JBL. We were able to secure them from this group. Then came Rotary International District 790, through the leadership of Governor Sama and Ms. Lorna Regala, donating several PPEs, masks, and other medical supplies. And when the shortage of N95 masks was at its height, the provincial government, through the governance council in the person of board member Ananias Canlas, was able to source out from his group of engineers in a very timely delivery. Pouring of donations followed through the Kota International of Mamnani, Dr. Agnes Diabetes Center, and so forth and so on. Donations never stopped until today. And if I will show you how long the list of donations at the height of the pandemic, in a span of few months, we were able to gather almost 6 million in medical supplies and equipments, and over ₱1 million donation in cash. Because of this, Jose B. Lingad Memorial General Hospital Multi-Sectoral Governance Council, initiating the public and private sector acting as one, we were able to face the challenges even at its peak more effectively and efficiently. Today, we now possess the confidence that we can face even greater challenges as long as we act together and as long as we act in unison. There are many other challenges and problems with regard to our responses to the pandemic, and to dwell on and discuss them would be maybe critical to government. The point is, we cannot just roll over and die because of these challenges. We cannot just say wala tayong magagawa, marami pang namamatay. No, as long as we do not stop sharing as long as we work hand in hand, as long as we have the passion to survive as a group or to the extent as a nation, we will always prevail. The virus proves to be formidable, but it can be defeated. First, of course, we have to respect it. It is only when you acknowledge and respect your enemy, in this case, the virus, that we can begin to defeat it. You know this too well as medical practitioners. Yet, you, me, and everybody cannot do it alone. We have to fight it as one so that we can heal as one. Only in working together and put our collective successes over our own interest that we can overcome the crisis. Always remember that there is no match for a concerted effort, an informed citizenry, and a united movement. As long as the private and public collaborate, cooperate, communicate openly as a nation, we can be victorious and rebound in time. With our oneness, the public and the private sector, we have proven our might to control or limit the infection before, even at its peak. Why can't we continue doing it? I would like to end on that statement, which originated from the government during the early stages of the pandemic, to heal as one. Unfortunately, we have not been one. I just hope that among us here, we can begin to be one. Let us be inspired by the JBL MGH MSGC. Maging inspirado at palaging maganang tumulong at magtrabaho para sa sambayanan. Maging sino ka man, nasa gobyerno ka man o pribado, maging mabuting basketball player pa rin tayo, kumikilos bilang isa para sa lahat. Magandang araw po.
Thank you very much, Sir Alvaro. It was a very thought-provoking and insightful presentation indeed. Thank you very much for sharing. For our final speaker, she will be sharing with us her insight on the topic, why do health sector need governance? Friends, let us all welcome Dr. Glory V. Baltazar.
Thank you for that kind introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Initially, I was about to decline the invitation made by the Jose B. Lingad Memorial Regional Hospital upon knowing that I will be presenting together with the experts, gurus, and my mentors in good governance, Governor Abet and Sir Chris. But they have taught us in our journey that everything is a learning opportunity. As I have listened to their sharing and expertise, all the more I could have regretted not attending this governance sharing and forum. Bataan General Hospital and Medical Center has tremendously benefited from the performance governance system which we adopted last 2018. We might need more experiences regarding this matter, but what I am about to share is our actual experience on what this governance has done in our institution and to our individual selves, as we not only help in the transformation of the organization we belong to, but we have also transformed as goal-oriented individuals. Everyone became governance warriors in their own rights. The following are the objectives of this session: to understand how the principle of governance was applied in BGHMC, and to share the BGHMC actual experience on shared governance. Governor Abet shared how he leads in Bataan by example to institutionalize the culture of governance. Sir Chris had an extensive discussion about the principles of governance, and Dr. Alvaro enlightened us how it works in the private sector, situating it in a public hospital perspective. It is pamamahala, palakad for a common understanding. It embraces all of the methods that organizations use to distribute authority and manage public resources and problems. Prior to our governance journey, our hospital was not the prepared hospital. We were stigmatized of being a butcher hospital. Unhappy about this negative perception, we resolved to strategize in improving our health services delivery. As BGHMC became empowered in the governance system we adopted, we have crafted numerous strategies to manage and solve our problems to be able to reach our goals. We all became managers individually, and as a team, and as an institution. In our hospital, governance is the way that rules, norms, and actions are structured, sustained, regulated, and held accountable. It is the very reason that our organizations are still existing and 24/7 functioning today, despite the disturbances occurring nonstop around the world. As we embrace good governance in BGHMC, we have created new standards like our best practices for our development. BGHMC achieved its current status. We are already in the proficiency stage. It fosters participation, it ensures transparency, it demands accountability, and promotes efficiency and upholds rule of law and processes. They say that good governance is the hallmark of political or government maturity and a requisite for growth and development. As we traverse this path, governance chooses management over control because the system is permeable. With good governance, all processes within the hospital can be seen and reviewed by everyone. It is influenceable. It admits outside influences. We became more susceptible to the voices of our stakeholders, especially from the patients needing our care. It assumes no omnipotence. There is no unlimited power on the part of the decision makers. Good governance taught us that everyone can be a good leader, especially with teamwork. Together, everyone achieves more. It subjects decisions to the evaluation and critique of all stakeholders. Our hospital conducts weekly executive committee meetings, quarterly strategy review that leads everyone to see the progress of projects, while everyone has a voice in providing insights and suggestions. This has become the most contributing factor in the success of PGS in our institution. The past and present facades of our hospital became the most concrete manifestations of our transformational journey with governance. The once tagged as Butcher Hospital becomes the beacon of health in the province. Now, what pushed us for governance to become fully palpable? All organizations have a quest for growth and development. This is inevitable since the public or our patients becomes the promoter and director of this accelerated development. In short, governance starts with listening to the public that we serve. To date, there are identified agencies as islands of good governance. They are the exemplars in good governance. For the healthcare system, only the Philippine Heart Center earned the seal of Islands of Good Governance. As a partner of the Institute for Solidarity in Asia, we are hopeful that this country will have more islands of good governance because it is easier to work with the same goal of having a dream Philippines. Experts in good governance always emphasize that it can be established even in the health sector when the following elements are met: leadership, accountability, and management. So, what is leadership? According to Jennifer Bridges, people who lead have three common attributes. They inspire others to share their vision, they motivate others to act on that vision, and they encourage others and help them overcome obstacles in pursuit of that vision. I find it very useful to understand further the processes by focusing on the leaders first. Jennifer Bridges emphasized 10 skills that make up great leaders. Let us quickly go through these. Motivation, getting people to want to do what you need them to do. Communication, the ability to disseminate information and listen actively. Delegation, knowing that you cannot do everything and trusting others to help you carry the load by completing assigned tasks. Positivity, keeping a positive attitude regardless of the situation helps improve morale. Creativity, there will always be problems that cannot be solved by rote. You must think creatively and be open to taking chances. Employ divergent thinking to find unique solutions. Trustworthiness. People are not going to listen to you or do what you ask if you don't first instill a sense of trust. Feedback. Leadership does not take place in a vacuum. Listen to your team, stakeholders, advisors, mentors, patients, and take their opinions seriously. Responsibility. You cannot expect people to follow you if you are not taking responsibility for the bigger picture and, of course, for your behavior. Flexibility. Things change and rigidity can ruin a project. So you must be willing to adapt and not hold too tightly to anything. And commitment. You also cannot expect to lead others if you are not committed to the project. The second element of good governance requires accountability. The good governance recognizes accountability in terms of improving the delivery of public services, measuring performance, and providing incentive to achieve targets and sanctions in case of non-performance. This is exactly what we are all doing now as we monitor everyone's performance through their respective scorecard. The basic characteristic of accountability can be summarized as follows: planning, directing, supervision, recording of transactions, and audit by an independent authority. Prior to our public revalida for the proficiency stage, BGHMC underwent a third-party audit from the PricewaterhouseCoopers. How to make accountability a core part of your workplace. Accountability is about ownership and initiative. This means that when an employee says they will do something, they follow through and get it done. It is recognizing that other team members are dependent on the results of your work. It is about open, proactive communication to keep team members informed of the status of your commitments because it has a direct impact on their ability to achieve their own commitment. So this is what we are doing during our strategy, management, or operations review. What happens when there is no accountability? It damages the team. When people are not accountable, one person's delay becomes the team's delay. One shortfall snowballs into bigger shortfalls. Tolerating missed deadlines, lack of punctuality, and unfinished work have the tendency to make this behavior no big deal. Consistently being 10 minutes late for a meeting is the norm. That subpar work is acceptable. Your team suffers and ultimately your workplace culture suffers. The third element of good governance requires basic management. Management is the process of administering and controlling the affairs of our hospital, irrespective of its level, nature, type, specialty, and size. It is concerned with optimally using the 5 M's, the men, machine, material, money, and method. This is possible only when there is proper coordination, and integration of the processes and activities to achieve the desired results. Let us review the different functions of management. Planning. It is the first and foremost function of management. To decide beforehand what is to be done in the future. It encompasses formulating policies, establishing targets, scheduling actions, and so forth. Organizing. Once the plans are formulated, the next step is to organize the activities and resources as in identifying the tasks, classifying them, assigning duties to subordinates, and allocating the resources. Staffing. It involves hiring personnel for carrying out various activities of the organization. It is to ensure that the right person is appointed to the right job. Directing. It is the task of the manager to guide, supervise, lead, and motivate the subordinate to ensure that they work in the right direction, so far as the objectives of the organizations are concerned. Controlling function of management involves a number of steps to be taken to make sure that the performance of the employee is as per the plan. It involves establishing performance standards and comparing them with the actual performance. In case of any variations, the necessary steps are to be taken for its corrections. We are done with the basics of governance. The conceptual framework in transformation consists of three important tasks. Aligning the target, that includes changing how we think. We have to think out of the box. This is where innovation comes in. We wanted to address our hospital congestion. Thus, the online referral system was introduced. Aligning practice and services, changing how we deliver healthcare services at all levels, and implementing holistic patient care. Best practices are intended for beyond the better service. Aligning policies, creating and changing policies and procedures towards targets. We wanted to meet the targeted turnaround time, as in attendance of patients at the emergency room, laboratory, and discharging them. So we review every steps and change policies in order to meet our targeted turnaround times. As we break away from the stigma of being a butcher hospital, with good governance, our institution metamorphosed from serving its core mandate and improving towards its mission for an increase and better health outcome. Transformational services are being done as we elevate the patient experience by providing innovative services. It is like having a facelift to become beyond better. Our transformation journey started with formulating a vision that is exciting and attracts potential followers. This is needed in an organization that has talented and competent employees. Without it, the mere foundation of transformation is deemed weak. Vision serves as a glue to all employees and leaders toward same direction or goal. After developing the vision, it must be sold to stakeholders to be able to build a strong network of high potential collaborators. In a health facility such as ours, a strong network is very important to be able to provide what we meant by the best medical services we can offer. Governance is key to develop a roadmap that details the direction to move and want followers to reach for that same goal. With the development of the roadmap, all players will be able to envision the targets and possible failures of reaching it, thus being able to accept the possible failures early on. Lastly, and yet the one of the most difficult tasks in governance, is to lead the pack. While the concept of governance empowers all players in the organization, the leader still remains in the forefront during all actions. The leader must always be visible and stand up to be counted. We should walk the talk. Governance involves game-changing leadership that must be inspiring and relatable. Good governance turn the table in the holistic transformation of BGHMC that is rooted in each of our employees' desire to change, and most especially to the leaders of its smallest unit up to the hierarchy of command and order. We take inspiration from the late Ross Perot. Lead and inspire people. Do not try to manage and manipulate people. Inventories can be managed, but people must be led. These are the references for my talk. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I know you had inspired those in the health sector on the importance of governance, and we will be bringing with us all the valuable lessons shared during this discussion. Thank you very much, ma'am, for sharing. At this juncture, let me call on Dr. Misael Cruz to moderate the question and answer. Dr. Cruz.
Good afternoon and thank you, Sir Fed. And I am very delighted to be assigned as the friar of our lecturers. So as if it's never enough from the beautiful and informative lectures that they have given, as if it's never enough that I have to pose some questions. So I have 1,000 questions here and I don't know how I can put it in the time limit, but I will try as much as possible to put them together. First question, this is directed to, this question came from an anonymous source, directed to our dear Governor, Governor Abet and Dr. Ria. The question is, with the limited funding, how can we assure the vaccination of all constituents? A bit tough. So I think ladies first. Nan?
Thank you for that question, Dr. Misael. First, the vaccine that we are receiving coming from the national government. With the limited resources that we are receiving, we have to ensure that the eligible population receive it on a timely manner. And vaccine hesitancy must be addressed, especially among the healthcare workers, because we are the frontliners against this battle, so that the vaccine will be given, inoculated to those who really needed it best. So that's my answer. Efficient utilization of the limited resources that is allocated to us.
Thank you, ma'am. May I ask our dear Governor to give us his insight of the question, sir?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Once again, good afternoon to all the organizers of this summit, kay Dr. Montserrat, and to my fellow speakers, kay Dr. Ria, kay Sir Science, and kay Mr. Alvaro. With regards to the vaccine, I'm sure you also monitor from the news. Right now, it comes in trickles. But what we're seeing towards the end of this month, June, July, up to the fourth quarter, a huge chunk of vaccine will be coming. So these are the signals that we are getting from our conversations with national government officials and some of the things that that we see in the news. We see a lot of orders from Pfizer, from Sinovac, and AstraZeneca, together with the private sector coming in. So what we're doing in the local government is that we're preparing even more vaccination sites, because we know that if the vaccines being delivered to us from the region are being rolled out immediately and our inventory is always at the low level, the more vaccine will be sent to our province. So on the local government side, we're preparing for a more efficient rollout through the establishment of vaccination centers. So we are targeting in the AVP that you saw, it mentioned that we are targeting 15, now we're targeting 20. And aside from the national government supply, we also coordinated with the private sector. So some of the big corporations in Bataan will be donating vaccines here in Bataan, among which one of the bigger donations will be coming from Petron. And this is included in the bulk order of ICTSI for 20 million Moderna. About 100,000 of that will be donated to the province of Bataan. So aside from the supply from the national government, the private sector, we expect a sufficient supply of vaccine in Bataan. And some of the mayors and I are also talking about purchasing additional vaccine. So I don't think that in the coming months there will be a deficient supply of vaccine. So the challenge is in the rollout. So we're trying to prepare 20 vaccination sites. If we're able to vaccinate, assuming that there is a sufficient supply, and we're able to vaccinate 5 to 10,000 people a day with the 20 vaccination sites. Again, assuming that the supply is sufficient, we'll be able to achieve herd immunity by October or November. So that's our target, and open the economy. Everybody will be safe, and we'll create more jobs once we open the economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Gov. Abet. I think the main point is we just have to be more patient. Help is coming in. So with what Governor Abet mentioned, I think the next question is directed to Dr. Alvaro Serbong. It's about the partnership of the private and the public organization. The question is, how did organizations extended help if they themselves, how does the private organization extended help if they themselves are having financial difficulties due to this pandemic?
That
Sir?
is a very realistic question. Number one, when you have this kind of menace in this kind of magnitude, in this great magnitude, the concept of both the government and the private should be common, meaning to say there is no such thing as government or private perspective. It has to be one, because in a war, you exist to fight a common enemy, not to shoot each other. Meaning to say, yes, we have our own problems, but if we will only solve it on our own, we have to have a partnership with everybody. Finding a solution to this problem of this magnitude cannot be solved by a single entity or a single, rather, government only or private. It has to be united. Kokonti nga, meron tayong problema sa financially, meron din kaming tulad halimbawa sa amin, sarado Aqua Planet, one and a half years nang sarado, hindi kami kumikita. But we can still shell out doon sa kailangan ng gobyerno. And that's what we did. In fact, marami kasing mga paraan. Halimbawa, ourselves as private, alam mo bang gumawa, alam mo yon, help us help our frontliners campaign. See? And we were able to muster a lot of money. Yun nga. So, ibig sabihin, it has to be a common. Mahirap tayong lahat, tinamaan tayong lahat. The more na magiging selfish tayo, the more na hindi natin ma-resolve ito. One, we heal as one. That's a good thing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think you really showed and emphasized what we are here for, about sharing. And it's like the miracle of the bread in the Bible. That
exactly.
During the extreme times, we find ways. And Filipinos are good at that, resiliency.
Yes.
So let me call on our dear Sir Chris for this next question. You've talked about transition to the new normal, where you think to the new normal and governance as a position in the new normal. Can you comment on the acceptability of governance or creating and adopting a new culture from the old one? Can you comment on that, sir? Because I think that is one challenging aspect in accepting and absorbing the discipline of governance. Sir Chris?
Thank you. I think one of the objectives of this summit is to expand the community of governance practitioners, di ba? Especially for a country like the Philippines, yung konsepto kasi ng governance, hindi siya God issue. Pag, yung karaniwang mamamayan, pag narinig yung governance, hindi siya God issue as in, yan ba ay magdadala ng pagkain sa lamesa ko? Yan ba ay but for those who are practitioners and those who are doing it, we do realize that good governance actually brings about food on the table, jobs, etc. Di ba? So yung connection from the conceptual to the tangible real life issue, yan I think ang hurdle for getting more people to advocate for and to advocate for good governance and to demand for good governance. Kaya one of the ways by which we can sort of bridge that conceptual divide to the tangible, concrete divide is stories of transformation, like the one that we heard from Dr. Ria. And I like in particular kasi ito yung latest update ko from GovAbit, yung pandemic response ng Bataan province, no? The last time that we were together in a forum, wala pa yung vaccination efforts eh. Pero ngayon, so tingnan mo, stories like those that's connected to the concept of governance, I think proves to one and all that governance is life and death. Has life and death implications. Has life and death implications. Kaya, if we want to gain more advocates, then we need really to parang set up as models and spread governance transformation stories. Kasi dun mo, that's like the, how do you say that? The proof of the pudding, yun ba yung expression? Yun yung ebidensya that it impacts lives positively if it is good governance, negatively of course, and disastrously if it's bad governance. And we have a lot of examples of that.
Thank you, Sir Chris. Thank you. Fully agree that there should be an example, to set an example as the role model to have that acceptability thing for governance and for them to find out, which is obvious right now with our expert speakers and those who are engaged in the governance. So my next question will be to you again, Sir Chris. I think Governor Abbott also mentioned about this, but I'll direct the question to you. It's about the digital transformation or automation, which is happening nowadays. With how our poverty rate, our internet speed is at right now in the Philippines, do you think this is a realizable thing?
Okay. First off, I think it's a necessary thing. The new normal will require digital transformation. Not that it's something new, because even before the pandemic, there are efforts, diba? But what we have seen is all of the digital transformation efforts of both public and private entities have been accelerated because of the demands of the pandemic. Okay, now is that realizable for a country like ours? I think as a government, there are now efforts, as in serious efforts, to address the infrastructure gaps, diba? And also to actually ramp up the capacity building that different sectors need so that they can get into the digital economy and reap the benefits of digital transformation. I think I can share this freely because 2 weeks ago, we actually just finished working with DTI, the entire DTI. So they put together, so that was a month-long discussion with different groups, but they now have a digital transformation plan that, of course, it's a DTI digital transformation plan. it's not just to automate and digitalize their frontline services, but also to help manufacturing, for example, to get into Industry 4.0, to help SMEs to get into the digital economy. So all of this, part of the digital economy is the use of the fintech, di ba? All of this GCash and Paymaya. So ang growth niyan nag-spike during this pandemic, but in the region, I picked this up from them. In the region, the Philippines is still ranked the lowest, or there, down below, among the countries in Southeast Asia on the share of the digital economy to the overall GDP. Napakaliit pa natin. Pero it's slowly, I think, getting bigger. And with efforts like that of DTI, I know there are also efforts on the part, of course, of the ICT. I think yun. And the private sector, diba? There's a new player. So I think the gaps for enabling the digital economy are slowly being addressed.
Thank you, sir. Well said. Yeah, for my next question, I'll go back to our dear Dr. Ria. You've mentioned a while ago the stigma, which is not only, I think, very obvious in your hospital, but also in our hospital and almost all public government hospitals. The stigma like Butcher Hospital, when you go there alive, you go out dead, something like that. Where do you think governance is positioned in this area, and will it be able, and how we will be able to transform this stigma into a new insights, especially from our public sector, on how we can project to them that, hey, we're not the same as before, we're different now. Ma'am?
Yeah, thank you for that question. During our transformation journey, first things first, ano ba yung problema natin? Ano ang meron ng BGH? For the start, talagang takot ang tao na pumunta sa amin kahit na umaayos na, meron ng konting resources. But still, we have to start from within. So we started with quality assurance system. We standardize system through ISO certification. So the internal factors like addressing the lack of commitment from the staff, lack of resources, improving the quality of service provision, that was addressed. However, hindi pwedeng sa loob lang eh. You have to think out of the box and win your stakeholders. Who are our stakeholders? The community, the rural health physicians. So we have to part in order for us that they can take care of the primary cases. One of the reason why we innovated the online referral system that is being widely used province-wide and even as far as in Nueva Ecija is that BGHMC, just like any government hospital as in JBL, is always congested with primary cases like normal spontaneous delivery, diarrhea, upper respiratory tract infection, which are obviously manageable at the periphery or our rural health unit, our district hospital. So what we did is to address both those areas internally and externally so that we can address eventually the health-seeking behavior of the community. Siyempre, kapag ka in-equip mo yung community or the RHU, like what are the things, what are the cases na kaya ninyong i-manage sa primary cases, we volunteered to train them, yung aming mga specialists. We did medical specialists on wheels. Kami yung nagtuturo sa aming mga rural health physician. And on top of this, sinama na namin yung innovation through IT, yung online referral system para mas mabilis. Little did we know that with this innovation, na it will be very handy during this pandemic. As we all know, alam natin yung transmission ng COVID is through fomites. That's why we advocate frequent hand washing and all. So with the advent of our online referral system, hindi na kailangan magdala yung pasyente ng kanyang at paulit-ulit na i-interviewin ng pasyente from the periphery being brought to our hospital na anong pangalan, ano pong nararamdaman, etc. And our doctors can immediately answer the query of our partner healthcare workers from the periphery, anong dapat nilang ibigay and en route naka-ready na kami. So these are the things that help us emerge, metamorphose from being a feared hospital to being the chosen or a preferred hospital. Even during this pandemic, I am, modesty aside, even private hospital really are requesting us to accommodate their patients because of the dedication and the quality of service that we provide. So I think that's all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. A real manifestation, an obvious and tangible manifestation of transformation in the eyes of the public and even in the private sector. Thank you, ma'am. My next question will go to our dear Governor Abet. You have beautifully shown the organizational structure that you have that's all encompassing from the health sector to education and so on and so forth. The question is, how do you address one of the challenges in implementing governance across every sector, which is communication? And the follow-up question, just to add to that, with regards to the COVID, does the high number of positivities, I'll continue with the question, sir. The positive individual mean a non-successful implementation of the COVID program? Yeah, so the first question is about the communication gap in setting governance across all sectors.
Yes, okay, thank you. What will bind us all together in the pursuit of good governance is the vision or the target. That will help you a lot in communicating and cascading what needs to be done. For example, I'll give a very simple example. So kunyari, meron tayong meeting tomorrow. Kunyari face-to-face, kunyari walang pandemic. Face-to-face, kunyari sa Region 3, JB Lingan Hospital at 8:30 a.m. And there are several groups attending that meeting. They may be coming from all over the island of Luzon. But because it is clear the location, the time, and probably the agenda of the meeting, whatever context the stakeholders belong to, they will target to get there by 8:30 a.m. to meet and to talk about the agreed agenda. So in terms of, in our case, we have a vision, the highest quality of life, which we measure by the HDI. So this includes health, education, and health, education, and jobs or the economy, the per capita income side. So we align this vision to the different sectors, different department, public and private. So it's easier dahil parang nag-set tayo ng meeting time and meeting place. And then we measure their contribution to the vision. And in the case of the provincial government, we incentivize if they have positive contributions. So a clear target that is measurable and exact and time-bound, alignment to the vision, and measurement of the performance. So that's why you probably saw in the AVP that we give a lot of the incentives in the barangay level because a lot of the problem can be solved in context of the barangay, which is the smallest unit of government. So that's what we're trying to do. Habang maliit pa yung problema dun sa barangay, and barangays have different situations, but the barangay captain, the barangay officials, having a clear target can address these problems bago lumaki. So yun yung some of the things that we're doing. And with regards to your second question, are all our efforts does that mean if all our efforts are ineffective because there's still a high rise of COVID? Of course, as a leader of the province, I still think that we can do much more dahil because of the high rise of COVID all over the country and most of the parts in the world. That's why I was talking to the team yesterday. Our end game really is to have herd immunity because it's so difficult to fight an invisible enemy. Ang dami namin preventive measures. Sila Dr. Ria, ang daming curative measures. Ang dami nilang medical technology, yung HERMA perfusion, high flow oxygen, that saves a lot of lives. And kami sa barangay, sa borders, we try to implement checkpoints. Ang hirap talunin ng invisible na enemy. And of course, nandiyan din po yung ating mga kababayan na minsan nakakalimot, nagpapabaya, self-inflicted yung nangyayari, nag-inuman, nag-party, umattend ng kasal, pumunta sa burol na nagkalat ng COVID. So it's so hard. Baka may fatigue na ngayon. Kaya we also put a high premium in risk communication because the first line of defense really is in the hands of the people. So, ang hirap. That's why, ang end game talaga dito, end COVID in the next 3 months. And we're targeting to be the first province that attains herd immunity. I forgot to say, sila Dr. Ria is also putting up a vaccination center sa BJ. So, also to answer the previous questions, it's a combination from the private sector, national government, provincial, and the mayors and the barangays. Combination ito. Maglalagay ng mga vaccination centers, yung iba, yung mga offices na malalaki na hindi ginagamit, malls, warehouses. The Freeport area of Bataan will transform a huge factory building into a vaccination center. And the DepEd, I was talking to the head of DepEd, they have many nurses that can be utilized to assist in the vaccination centers. The Red Cross, we're also talking to them. So it's a collaboration between national, regional, local governments and the private sector, and even organizations to handle this. So if you ask me, we could do so much more, but we're trying to do our best. Pero ang hirap talaga kalaban nitong invisible na kalaban. So end game na to, vaccination na, herd immunity para in 3 months, as long as the supply is sufficient and the signals we're getting from the national government, dadagsa yung supply. So let us increase our capacity to vaccinate. In fact, we're even thinking of more incentives sa vaccination program para yung demand tumaas. Pinag-uusapan pa lang namin, ayaw pa namin i-reveal because we're checking all angles from legal to moral to ethical to political bago namin i-reveal ito. Pero yun talaga yung target. Ito na yung end game. So I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I was about to mention that I hope the national government will put a contest on who will be the first region to have this herd immunity. And I think that's something to look forward to. And I think every region will have a push towards the herd immunity. So Doc Bong, don't sleep on me. The questions are for you. The next question, Sir Bong, is you have mentioned in your lecture that the government perspective is not different, not totally different with the private perspective. Now, how do we apply the principle of good management in the private sector? Is it practical and is it feasible to apply it in the public sector?
Yes, actually, we have the same, the government and the private, pareho naman ang pinag-aaralan nating management eh. Yun nga lang, siyempre yung sa government may political ano yan eh. Mayroong halong politics, but the principles are the same. That's why when we talk of perspective, lalong-lalo na, I'm saying this on the context na this is pandemic. Malaki ang magnitude nitong problema. So, hindi tayo dapat nagsasarili. Ito yung perspektibo mo, ito yung perspektibo. No. We have to at least meet. We have to at least magkapareho yung paningin natin sa mga bagay-bagay nang sa ganon we can help each other. Unless na nagsasarili tayo, bawat isa ang gobyerno at ang publiko, hindi pareho ang kanyang pananaw, lalong babagal. Kaya nga sabi ko, at this time, the government perspective should be no different from the private perspective. At nang sa ganon, we have a common goal, we have a common enemy, so to speak. Kaya dapat pareho talaga.
Yeah.
Siguraduhin magpareho at asikasuhin na magpareho.
Okay. Aligned and common. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you, sir. Thank you. I have one question. I don't know, since you are a professor, it's about, sir, whatever good ideas that you can share with this question. How significant is the role of education sector, higher education in particular, in the government transformation towards the new normal? And how can the government and private agencies assist or interplay with the education sector to attain valuable contribution in the new normal society? So the question is about how will we align governance in the education sector vis-a-vis on how the private sector can help as well?
The education sector, yan ang isa sa mga major partners supposedly yan in terms of communicating whatsoever. Mahalaga ang papel ng education sector. In fact, sa mga klase namin, bahagi ng aming mga pag-uusap ay tungkol na dito sa pandemya. It's all about the pandemic. Kasi unless we have a good understanding of the problem, we can never solve the problem. So the first thing is, and the education sector plays a very big role in that. Secondly, in terms of governance, of course, sabi ko nga, pareho ang prinsipyong ginagamit natin sa pribado at saka sa public in terms of principles of good governance. Kasi kung may good governance sa public, mayroon din kaming good governance sa privado. Ang isa sa mga bago ngayon sa private sector on when we talk of good governance is yung ibang computation ng profit. Dati, we compute profit in a monetary, how to earn yung monetary profit. Right now, we have to set aside first the monetary profit. Ano yung mga bagong equation namin sa profit? Number one, when you are able to share in the pandemic, it is considered as profit in private. When you were able to retrench, yung naliitan mo, yung retrenchment, nakatulong ka sa ekonomiya sa unemployment kasi hanggat kaya mong pigilan. So, ibig sabihin, the new attitude in governance now, in both private and public, is sharing. Sharing, giving something that you have that the government or the other do not have. Ito yung mga magic word ngayon. Sharing, give. At sa amin, kahit na yung makasurvive ka lang, survival. Yan yung mga new terms namin ngayon. Survival. Hindi mo na pinag-uusapan right now the monetary profit. This should be the concept of the private sector for now. Later on na yun. Ang importante nito is we can survive. Sabi ko nga kanina sa talk, the issue now is survival. I-survive muna natin ito.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for expounding on the new definition, aligning the new definition of profit with the new normal, which is not only the tangible monetary accumulation, but also the intangibles that we were able to share with others, as well as in the educational sector. Yeah, thank you for that. In the interest of time, and I wouldn't like to tire more our dear speakers, I will leave one question, and it will be also, I think it's an appropriate question as the last message of all our speakers, and I will address according to beauty before masculinity. So I'll call on Dr. Glory to answer, Dr. Ria to answer first, and then probably Sir Chris, and then Gov Abet, and then Sir Bong. That's our flow. The question is, what was the greatest challenge you met in your respective experiences in terms of shared governance, and how did you handle or deal with that challenge? Siguro we can do away with the COVID and pandemic. We go out of the pandemic and COVID first. That's an obvious challenge already. So, Dr. Ria, with your last message as well.
Yeah, we should start pre-pandemic. So I think the big challenge for us is to win our outside stakeholders. So selling our vision. Our vision is very simple: to be the leading and trusted multi-specialty hospital. Why? On the premise that we were filled. Kinakatakutan kami. So, yun yung tema na kailangang lumabas kami from our comfort zone and make ligaw to our community, to our patients, na you can trust us. So that's the biggest challenge. And how can we, and how did we hurdle that? So we went out of the BGH premises. Dapat ang hospital sa hospital lang eh. Yun yung mandato natin, manggamot lang. So think out of the box. Kung ang problema mo, yung primary cases, kinukongest yung hospital mo, punta ka sa labas, ligawan mo yung mga rural health physician, district chief, pwede bang gumawa tayo ng strategy at hindi ma-bypass ang inyong mga centers, ang inyong district hospital, so that our level 3 hospital can cater and we can maximize the resources given to us by the national government for the difficult cases needing our care. Imagine our neurosurgical cases being drained with their money because they went to the private hospital kasi nga walang accommodation sa amin, walang room where they can be admitted because we are congested with private. So simple things like that, managing the meager resources that was allotted to us by walking and stepping out of our comfort zone. So nanligaw kami, and another challenge is yung internet connectivity. Kasi IT itong aming inintroduce SDN Online Referral System. So yung struggle namin with winning the yes from the rural health physician is doon kami nag-struggle. When Governor signed my initial, Governor Abet, siya yung unang bumili ng aming concept. Talagang si Gob kasi IT, mas makabago. So nung inintroduce ko, Gob, ganito po yung flow. Yes. But the process in the government, you have to seek for the resolution from the board, the Sangguniang Panlalawigan. So when I was introducing the concept to the SB board, yun yung resistance ng mga rural health physician. Wala silang lahat internet connectivity. But we already prepared. So ano ang prepare naming option? Merong offline version. So you type you type all the necessary data for the patients to be admitted in a hospital or to be referred in the hospital, bring that offline version to our hospital. You know, ang kagandahan sa Bataan, sinabi namin kay Gob, ito po ang problema sa Morong yung kanilang internet connectivity. It took us only about a year para ma-improve ang internet connectivity sa Bataan. So that's and sabi ko nga kanita, little did we know that yung ginagawa pala namin ay preparation for the pandemic. So we have the system, yung PCR namin, encode na lang sila ng encode sa CIF. And yung online referral system, hindi na kailangang interviewin ng mga nurses at doctors namin yung ni-refer ng taga-center or taga-private hospital dahil nandoon na sa system. Everything that we wanted to know from the patient is already there. At nanganak pa yan, naka-electronic medical record na kami. We are able to generate our CF4. Our doctor will just click the command at wala, ma-generate na yung CF. So the things, yung talagang big challenge is start. You have to walk the talk. Kailangan mahusay kang manligaw. If you want to sell your vision, choose the right people who will go with you and everything will just follow. Now we are reaping the fruition of all that we did sometime last quarter of 2017. And now, sometime 2 months ago, Director Eric Tayag was able to see the SDN of BGHMC, and he is planning to introduce it nationwide. So these are the things that we are seeing in mahirap sa simula, but we were able to hurdle our challenges. So that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Sir Chris, what's your take on the question and sort of your last message?
Well, challenges, no? So on the part of ISA that has been promoting governance in the public sector, I must say that the biggest challenge is what I mentioned earlier, bridging the divide between the conceptual and the concrete, the aspirational and the tangible transformation that people can benefit from, no? So yun, and that entailed simplifying processes, etc. So that's from the point of view of ISA. But from the point of view of many of the partners of ISA, I think what continues to be like a, how do you say that, a game changer in the way they're doing governance is the leadership factor. Is the leadership factor. We've always espoused, a shift. So when we work with NGAs or LGUs or even hospitals, we've always espoused the shift from personality-driven kind of governance to, systems governance. Make the elected officials irrelevant. Let them do politicking because that's what they're there for. But then let there be continuity so that when leaders change, things continue to go. So that all of that is still valid. But having seen many organizations do this and get into their transformation journey, I think those who have parang succeeded are the ones that benefited from, visionary, committed leadership. So leadership factor is still I think an important factor. Okay. Because as we know very well, any system will only be as good or as bad as the people using it, as the people leading it.
Thank you, Sir Chris. So from startup challenges to leadership challenges, Gov Abet, challenges you met in your experiences in the shared governance?
Yes, early on in our PGS journey, and we were guided all the time by Sir Chris. The biggest challenge I experienced looking back is transforming the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy may have been contented or they have been, how should I say this, used to the what they've been doing. And now you're gonna push it to so many notches higher. So it's a big change. And as you may know, in any change, there is resistance. So it's very important that the bureaucracy, especially the department heads, buy in this journey to a transformational governance. That's why yung pinakaunang activity ng PGS, and I'm sure we went all through this activity, is the visioning exercise, where hindi lang yung governor maggagawa ng vision or the leader yung gagawa ng vision. Lahat tayo. Para once we agree upon a common vision that we think is appropriate for our organization, may buy-in na kagad tayo, may ownership na kagad tayo dun sa vision na yon. And that starts the ball rolling for for everyone to support. And of course, magkakascade to from the heads down to the rank and file, and so on and so forth. And yung next level doon is also to create a culture of meritocracy. So sa government, as you may know, sanay kami for the longest time na basta Pasko, bonus. Nagtrabaho ka, hindi ka nagtrabaho, bonus. Pare-pareho kayo all across the board. And I've been in government, bata pa ako, nakatambay na ako sa government offices because of my dad. Nakikita ko, yung mga tamad, mahahawa yung mga masisipag pababa. Kasi by the end of the year or pag Christmas, ako nagtrabaho, siya hindi nagtrabaho, parehong bonus. O kaya may sip-sip, merong hindi sip-sip. Siya sip-sip, siya na-promote, ako hindi. So, yun ang problema pag wala kang culture of meritocracy or system for meritocracy. Then you will start to lose good people dahil hindi sila nare-reward, hindi sila nare-recognize. Then what will happen to your organization? It will become a mediocre organization. So to transform that, of course, you need the buy-in of your team. The leader is as good as his team. So kailangan talaga maniwala sila, matransform sila, mag-adapt sila dito sa new culture of meritocracy na if you're doing well, kayo yung you will be promoted, kayo yung mas may malaking bonus. Ito, sa mga pag nagbigay na kami ng performance-based bonus sa harap ng flag ceremony, good, better, best, mas malaki yung bonus nung best. Siyempre, kahit pa paano magkakainitan. Ba't ba tayo hindi, ano to, department clustered to departments. So, yung mga hindi nakapag-best or hindi nakakuha ng bonus, mag-uusap-usap sila. Galingan na nga natin next year para tayo rin pumunta sa harap at mas malaking bonus yung matanggap natin. Tapos ganun din, kapag may new items, new plantilla na kailangan buksan, based on performance of the department. Pag may promotion, based on the performance of the person, plus dinagdag pa namin yung core values. Kasi may magaling, pero maaring walang core values na in-adhere ng organization. So ngayon, ini-inculcate na namin lahat yun to create a culture of meritocracy so that we can get the best public servants around and our province will benefit from that. So that's what we're trying to do. So yung umpisa, yung buy-in. So kaya maganda yung system ng PGS, talagang visioning exercise, and you go through the stages. Then tama yung sinabi ni Dr. Ria, mahirap sa umpisa. Para ito yung sinasabi ng mga Singaporean, when we been, parang nagsisimula ka mag-ride ng bike. So umpisa, pag mabagal ka pa, patumba-tumba. Pero pag nakuha nyo na yung momentum, dire-diretso na. Thank you.
Thank you, Gov. Thank you, Gov. From startup problems, leadership problems, bureaucracy problems, Sir Bong, more problems?
Actually, yung unang tanong mo, ano yung mga challenges? Ang unang talagang challenge when we started this is hindi ko alam kung saan ko ilalagay ang aming papel, the role. Kasi ang nangyari kasi, you wrote us na I was one of the selected na ganito. Hindi namin, ang talagang challenge, paano namin i-fit as a private sector yung lugar namin dito sa MSGC natin, ano. Yun yung unang difficulty. Tapos siyempre I had a very bad experience noong politiko ako sa local government. So ang palagi mong nakakahon na ano mo yung baka this is another political vehicle. Something like this. Ito talaga actually, these are the real issues na dumating sa akin when I was invited. But I only understood it when we started working together and when I was able to gel with these wonderful people. So that's the challenge. Pero ngayon, finally, message. The last message is, kanina si Sir Chris, kinote niya si Peter Drucker, and I want to quote him again with your permission, Sir Chris. Peter Drucker said in one occasion, he said, the greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence. It is to act with yesterday's logic. On that note, if we continue to live in the past and the logic of the past, transformation cannot happen. Kaya tayo siguro nakakapag-transform na ngayon because we are now living in the new normal sa kasalukuyan. Salamat!
Thank you, sir. Perfect way to end this question and answer. For the rest of the question, I think I'll be directing them and sending them to our speakers for them to answer and send their reply to us. Definitely, they will send their answer, their reply to us. So I want to give back the floor to Sir Fed.
Okay, thank you, Doc. We now go on to the awarding of token and the certificate. Awarding the token and certificate will be coming from the Office for Strategy Management, represented by Ms. Olga Miranda, Ms. Ricalyn Zabala, and Ms. Rolly Ann Manuyan. To read the citation, this symbolic token is awarded to Mr. Christian P. Saenz for his valuable sharing and knowledge enrichment as speaker during the first Shared Governance Summit given this 26th of May, 2021 in the city of San Fernando, Pampanga. Thank you, Mr. Saenz. To give the award in behalf of Governor Garcia, let me call on Ms. Ludi Banzon. Thank you, Ms. Banzon. Next, we will be awarding Dr. Ireneo Bong Alvaro. Thank you, Dr. Alvaro. Lastly, Dr. Glory V. Baltazar. I would like to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt thanks to our guest speakers for taking time of their very busy schedule to participate in this seminar. The JBL-MGH Execom, OSM Chairman, and the Technical Working Group have also asked me to pass on their sincere appreciation for your effort in supporting this seminar. Your skills in talking about the subject matter was highly appreciated. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, valuable insights, and enlightenment. To continue this shared governance summit journey in Central Luzon, let me call on the Municipality of Balanga, Bataan, represented by Ms. Mirna B. Roman, the Department Head, City Accounting and Internal Audit Office, the PGS Core Team Chairman, and ISA Associate. They will be hosting the next year's summit.
Hello. Hello. Ayan. Tensya po. Allow me to greet and commend our excellent resource speakers and leaders from different sectors. President and CEO Dr. Ireneo Alvaro Jr., our dear old friend and mentor, Sir Chris Saenz, one of my idols in governance, Dr. Gloria Baltasar, and my former boss, a true governance champion, and the confidently good-looking with the heart, our beloved Governor, Honorable Albert Garcia. My fellow governance warriors, isa pong maalab na pagbati. First, I'd like to congratulate our host for this first shared governance summit in Central Luzon, Jose B. Lingad Memorial General Hospital, under the able leadership of Dr. Monserrato Chioco and the OSM head, Dr. Misael Cruz, for a job well done. As nominated to hold the second governance summit next year, we will try our best to meet everyone's expectations. May I take this opportunity to introduce to you our humble city, and let me also present our current roadmap as the main output of our strategy refresh conducted in 2019. Ito na po yata yung pang-anim mula nung kami ay nag-enroll sa PGS. So you can just have a glimpse of our city. Bear with me please, konting istorya lamang po. And don't worry, I promise to make it short. Sabi nga po, di ba kasi, kung walang istorya, walang estratehiya. Right, Sir Chris? The city of Balanga is just a small component city composed of 25 barangays, has an almost 100,000 population. Being the capital of Bataan, Balanga is the dominant commercial, service, and education center of the province. Guided by our vision of becoming a university town by 2030, as an established center for global technology businesses, and so fueled by our core values of integrity, love of God, and commitment, the city is wholeheartedly committed to complete its mission of world-class public service and building a highly livable, family-oriented city with a strong learning atmosphere that will ensure sustainable development and participatory governance. Our strategy map is anchored on the pillars of smart cities, but alignment with the strategic perspectives of the performance governance system is still preserved. Smart living for constituency, smart economy and smart people for customers, smart government, environment, and mobility for internal processes, and of course, as our foundation, organization or learning and growth, and the finance perspectives. Our PGS journey is a long and winding one, but indeed very fruitful and transformative. It was in 2008, a year after our former mayor, now second district representative, Kong Joet Garcia, took his first term in office, and when we were confounded on how to translate our recognized aids to a competitive advantage, that our PGS story began. We got institutionalized in 2016, exactly 20 days before Kong Joet's last term in office as the city mayor. And we were the first LGU then to receive the Gold Trailblazer Award. It is his legacy to the Balangueños. Our pursuit for transformation reflects the real struggle and triumph of a local government unit determined to be an agent of change. We believe that it can be done, and so we took on the challenge. Our humble story began with identifying our strengths and capitalizing on it. Balanga has always been the center of education in the province, and we strongly believe that education is the answer to most, if not all, of our society's problems, be it employment, health, environment, or peace and order. We knew that the only way for our city to progress and sustain development was to educate our people. PGS, as I always say, is not an award, but a way of life. Pero meron pong mga side effects ang PGS. Balanga became a multi-awarded city, not only locally, but internationally. Just to name a few, we were one of the first recognized 10 islands of good governance in the Philippines. In 2017, through the sustainable and transformative leadership of our current city mayor, Honorable Francis Anthony Garcia, we were inducted into the Palladium Balance Scorecard Hall of Fame for executing strategy. We are a consistent recipient of the Seal of Good Local Governance for 5 consecutive years since 2015. We are also one of UNESCO's learning cities in the world. Just recently, we were conferred the Seal of Good Local Governance given by Sinergia Foundation in March this year in spite of the pandemic. All this we owe to all our stakeholders, our empowered city employees as internal stakeholders and the external stakeholders through the effort of our governance partner, the Multi-Sectoral Governance Council, the Ugnayang Balanggenyo. For we believe that governance is a shared responsibility. I guess that will be all for now. So you will all come and join us in the next Governance Summit. Magkita-kita po tayong muli sa susunod na taon. On behalf of Mayor Francis, wini-welcome ko na po kayong lahat. See you Zoom or face-to-face na po sana tayo by that time. Tuloy pong nakakagalak ng puso na pakinggan at ibang istorya ng transformation tungo sa isang matino, mahusay at maayos na pamamahala para sa bayan. Katulad ninyo po kami na nangarap at patuloy na nangangarap. And we have a grand dream that of becoming the Silicon Valley of the Philippines and to be a distinct one based on its own cultural identity. A university town in our own way, for we know we are too far to be like Salamanca in Spain or Oxford in the United Kingdom. But we just have to dream, to believe, to survive. Para na po yatang star-struck. Kidding aside po, this journey of transformation is dedicated to all our constituents, our relentless leaders like you, and to all of us who believe that the Philippines can be transformed one city at a time. Finally, may I share with you our famous battle cry from Steve Jobs, the Silicon Valley's icon, who once said, and I quote, "Those who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do." Muli po, isang magandang hapon sa ating lahat. Magkita-kita po tayo sa isang taon dito sa Balanga. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. We are already excited for the next year's summit. To give the closing remarks for this virtual seminar, let me call on our energetic, visionary, and overall chairman of this summit, the Medical Center Chief of Jose Bilingad Memorial General Hospital, Dr. Montserrat S. Chuchoco.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Rhea, tawagan mo si ano.
We can hear you.
Good afternoon. And for the closing remarks, Please let me, at this closing instance, thank you all for having joined the first Shared Governance Summit in Central Luzon. We at JBL MGH are really happy and deeply gratified that this regional gathering has come to confirm the commitment of each and every one, the desire to seek transformation through effective governance. The speakers have shared with us their remarkable experiences and breakthroughs to inspire us and learn from them the strategies which we can adapt as we go back to our respective organization. Sir Chris of ISA has emphasized that good governance will see us through to be able to live in the new normal with the COVID-19 pandemic. The principle of governance in transformation, transitioning to a new normal, is a balancing act. Picking up from the old practices, combined with new methods and strategies built from the old, will help organizations cope up with this global pandemic. He emphasized the following points or principles to be able to transition to a new normal: recalibrating strategies for a reimagined future, agility to reconfigure strategies, which is further enabled by empowerment of leaders, and of course, recognizing their expertise rather than the rank in solving problems, and which we call subsidiarity. And of course, transparency and accountability for precisely stated outcomes. We are inspired by the local government of Bataan under the leadership of Governor Albert Garcia, which has instilled among Bataeños the discipline and culture of good governance, where they have set clear directions, applying unified measures and management systems towards a goal long before the onset of this COVID-19 pandemic. This culture of well-established good governance has led them to continuously discover innovations and inventions to address the necessities. The good governor also emphasized that governance can flourish and thrive when there is clear vision, when there is unified structures and processes, collaboration between national and local government units, which is further intensified by engaging the barangays and families through public or through risk communications, and the governance mechanism is ensured through measurement of performance, accountability, responsiveness, and inclusivity. Intentional cultivation of culture of excellence and meritocracy will eventually lead to an amazing transformation of public service where people will take pride in its government and believe in what each person can contribute and share despite the challenges, united in one goal and one vision. On the other hand, working as a basketball team is the best example shared to us by our esteemed speaker from the private sector, Dr. Ireneo Alvaro Jr., sharing systems, knowledge, and resources to come up with a common goal. Setting clear directions, getting people in the same direction, setting clear principles, and employing doable steps bound in attainable time frame with well-defined roles and responsibilities and act in unison. People, government, and organizations can overcome adversities and unexpected challenges. He also emphasized that in the midst of this pandemic, the private sector has to set aside its prime motivation for revenue and profit if it wants to survive and preserve its market for revenues and profits, which are the people. He also reminded us that the private sector should not be engaged in profiteering, not to make money out of people's misery, but instead share with the government a common goal of helping each other to survive. In his lecture, in the challenges that the world is facing due to the COVID-19 pandemic, he mentioned that the government perspective is no different from the private perspective. Working on a unified perspective with oneness of goals and strategies, complementation of efforts and focused direction in order to conquer our common enemy, which is COVID-19 or coronavirus. Sharing, working hand in hand with a passion to survive as a nation, humanity will prevail. The pandemic has no match to a concerted effort, informed citizenry, and united movement where the public and private sector collaborate, cooperate, and communicate to emerge victorious to be able to control or limit the infection even at its peak. From the Medical Center Chief of Bataan General Hospital and Medical Center, Dr. Glory Baltasar, my friend, she mentioned that BGH has benefited much from the PGS. She mentioned how the principle of governance has improved their health service delivery, crafting strategies to manage problems to achieve a common goal. The rules, norms, and actions within BGH are guided by the principles of governance. They have created standards, encourages participation, practice transparency and accountability with their services and process rooted on the goal of efficiency. She emphasized linking accountability in the workplace to an increase in commitment to work and employee morale. The basic management principles have been applied to good governance to help them innovate services which greatly improve and elevate patient experience in the delivery of their services. Applying conceptual framework in the transformation process by aligning their targets, practices, and services with their policies has greatly improved patient experience and increases health outcomes. The last words that I have vividly recalled with her lecture is on leadership. Leading the pack with the leaders in the forefront during the action, being able or always visible and be able to bolster and infect followers with commitment and enthusiasm. A leader with a clear vision, a vision that excites and attracts potential followers, knowledgeable on the direction, on where to move and in the same direction, and be able to sell that vision through a strong service delivery network. And with that, we hope that as we return to our organizations, we have imbibed something from this governance summit to inspire us all as we look forward, working towards our own transformation with the mantra that good governance is a shared responsibility. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you, Dr. Rochi. I would like to invite our guest speakers to join the breakout room. I would also like to take this opportunity to inform our audience to fill out the feedback form, and the link will be flashed in your screen. And there you have it. Thank you for spending your time with us today. See you all next year. Stay safe, everyone.
Congratulations din. Doc G, congratulations.
Ma'am, kinakabahan kami dito. Akala namin walang mag-a-attend.